If you're a small business owner looking for a complete bookkeeping system without paying a monthly subscription, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Jessie, a CPA with over 15 years of financial reporting and controllership experience. I built this template for business owners who want professional bookkeeping without the cost and complexity of an accounting software. In this video, I will walk you through every single tab, setup tabs, transaction log, dashboards, account reconciliations, sales tax, and the balance sheet. But before we begin, let's go through a few quick notes. You may notice your template looks slightly different from what you see here. This tutorial covers all versions of the multi-year bookkeeping system, including different color themes and built-in chart of account variations. So don't worry, you're in the right place. I also recommend opening the README tab in your template as you follow along. It has written instructions for every section we cover and is a great reference to come back to anytime. You can also check out the FAQ tab, which covers the most commonly asked questions. If you run into anything, it might already be answered there, and if not, you can always send me a message directly and I'll get back to you. And lastly, this template uses protected cells to prevent formulas from being accidentally changed. In Excel, protections are fully enforced and will prevent any accidental changes. You can unprotect individual sheets from the review menu if needed. In Google Sheets, you'll see a warning if you attempt to edit a protected cell. If that warning appears, simply click Cancel and enter data only in the designated input cells. With that, let's get started and go into the Inputs tab. This is where your setup begins, and you only need to do this once. Start with your business or company name. I've entered Clarity Consulting Company as my example. Next, enter your currency symbol. You can copy and paste your preferred symbol directly into the cell. I've used the $sign. Feel free to replace it with whatever currency you use. Then we enter your start year and start month. Since this is a multi-year template, your start year is simply the first year you begin using it. You'll continue using the same file year after year without starting over. Your start month defaults to January. You only need to change it if your fiscal year differs from the calendar year. For example, if your fiscal year runs May to April, you'd enter May as your start month. You'll see a red helper note right there that explains exactly how the fiscal year works. For this demonstration, I'll be using January 2025 as my start date, so I can show you the full multi-year functionality with several years of data already built up. Next, pick a name for your profit and loss statement from the drop-down menu. And finally, you'll notice the Helper Notes toggle. Helper Notes appear throughout the workbook with this little pencil and paper symbol. They're there to give you quick guidance on each section and tell you which cells are input cells. If you want a cleaner view for printing or presentations, you can hide all of them at once. Check the box in Google Sheets or type Yes in Excel. You can turn them back on anytime and they'll always be there when you need them. Now let's move to section 1.2, Account Setup. This is where you tell the template where your money lives. You can add up to 10 accounts, any accounts where you deposit income and pay expenses from. This includes bank accounts, credit cards, savings accounts, payment processors like Square and Stripe, and even loans, anything you want to track cash flow for. Enter the account name and your opening balance as of your template start date. So in this example, since I started in January 2025, I enter my balances as of January 1st, 2025. Bank accounts and assets are entered as positive values. Credit cards and loans are entered as negative values. Now let's move to section 1.3, which is your chart of accounts setup. This is one of the most powerful features of the template, and it works very similarly to a professional accounting software. In section 1.3, you define your main categories. You have up to 15 income categories and 15 expense categories. Keep these broad and high level. Things like service revenue, cost of goods sold, salaries and payroll, and general and administrative. These are your top-line reporting categories that show on your dashboards and profit and loss statement. In section 1.4, you assign your subcategories. You have up to 75 subcategories in total, and each main category must have at least one assigned. Subcategories give you the detailed tracking, and they automatically roll up into their main category for all your reporting. If you purchased an industry-specific or custom version of this template, Your chart of accounts may already be pre-populated with recommended categories. That's completely intentional. It's my recommended starting structure for your type of business. Feel free to remove anything that doesn't apply to you and add new ones as you need them. Let's go through an example. I'll click the drop-down in section 1.4, and you can see all my main income categories have populated automatically from section 1.3. I'll select Service Revenue and now type Implementation Services as my subcategory. You can see I already have Strategy Consulting, Training and Workshops, and Ongoing Support Retainer. All of these will roll up into the single Service Revenue category on your profit and loss and dashboards. This allows your reports to stay clean at the top level while all the detail is captured underneath. On the right side, we have expenses, which work the same way, so I won't go through it in detail. A few important rules before we move on. Number 1, any main categories from section 1.3 won't flow into the transaction log until section 1.4 is completed. If your main categories don't have any subcategories, you can simply repeat the main category name as the subcategory. So for example, I'll select Other Income from the drop-down menu and then type Other Income as the subcategory. Number 2, subcategory names must be unique across the entire workbook. If you enter a duplicate, both cells will highlight and you'll need to rename one. Number 3, once you start entering transactions, don't rename your categories or subcategories as it'll break the links throughout the template. There's an error check in the transaction log that catches accidental changes, and I'll show you that shortly. Number 4, you can always add new categories and subcategories at any time, even after you've started entering transactions, as long as you're within the limit of 15 main categories and 75 subcategories. And that's it! We're done with the Inputs tab. Now let's take a quick look at the Chart of Accounts tab. As indicated by the helper note in the top left, this tab requires no manual input. It's automatically generated from sections 1.3 and 1.4 of your Inputs tab. As you add or update your categories and subcategories there, they'll appear here instantly, organized by main category. Use it as a clean reference for your financial structure. Moving on to the Budget tab, which is your last setup tab, and it's an optional feature. You can set monthly net income targets for up to 10 years. Whichever year you input in this cell, the dates in this row will automatically update, and the corresponding year in the table will be highlighted. So when you're ready to set your 2026 budget, just input 2026 and the months update accordingly. Enter your net income targets as positive numbers and losses as negative numbers. This is an optional tab, but I do recommend using it. It flows into your dashboards and gives you a budget versus actual comparison each month. You don't need to fill in all 10 years up front. Just populate the current year and add future years when you get there. Now we're at the heart of the template, the transaction log. But before we dive in, I want to quickly mention the Mapping Setup tab that we just skipped over. This tab is not covered in this tutorial because it is not included in this version of the template. The Mapping Setup tab is an advanced feature that allows you to automatically categorize your transactions using keyword rules. So instead of manually selecting a category for every transaction, the template does it for you. If you have recurring transactions like payroll, rent, or subscriptions, this feature can save you a significant amount of time every single month. If that sounds like something you'd find useful, I have linked both the advanced version of this template and its full tutorial in the description below so you can check it out. But for now, let's get into the transaction log. This is the most important tab and where everything begins. Every transaction you enter here will automatically flow into your profit and loss, all your dashboards, and account reconciliations. You only enter data in one centralized transaction log, and everything updates automatically across every tab. No separate tabs for data input, just one place for all your transactions, and the template does the rest. Before I walk through the fields, a few important things to know. Number 1, don't insert or delete rows. The template has hidden formula columns that power the drop-downs and smart prompts. If you insert a row, those formulas won't carry through. The template is built with 10,000 rows, so you'll never run out of space. If you miss a transaction from a previous month, just add it below your current entries. Number 2, use this log as frequently as you need to, daily, weekly, or monthly. whatever works best for your business. The more current your log, the more accurate your reports will be throughout the year. Number 3. The gray cells on the far right are your smart prompt and error check columns. Don't edit them. If a warning pop-up appears, just click Cancel. Here's what these two features do for you. The smart prompt guides you through every transaction. Based on whatever transaction type you select, it'll tell you exactly which fields need to be completed. This ensures every transaction is accurate and nothing gets missed. The error check is your safety net. If you ever accidentally rename a category or subcategory in your Inputs tab, this'll flag it immediately so you can fix it before it affects your reports. Now let's get started with manual entry and understanding all the fields. The 3 mandatory fields are date, description, and amount. And you'll notice the columns are ordered to match your bank statement CSV format, making it easy whether you're entering manually or importing. Let's start with the date. It must be a valid date. If it's not formatted correctly, a pop-up will appear right away. Next is the description. This is optional and just for your own record keeping or from your bank statement. Go ahead and type something that helps you identify the transaction later. Then the amount. Enter all amounts as positive values. The only exceptions are returns, discounts, or expense recoveries, which should be entered as negative values. Here, I will input $2,200. You'll also notice an optional sales tax field. If your business collects or pays sales tax, you can enter the rate directly here. One important thing to understand: the amount column should always reflect the total amount received or paid, including any applicable sales tax. The template works backwards from that gross total to automatically extract the tax amount and calculate the net amount. So for example, if I receive $2,200 from a customer, including 10% sales tax, I enter $2,200 as the amount and 10% as the rate. The template automatically extracts $200 in tax and shows $2,000 as the net amount. That net amount is what flows into your dashboards and profit and loss, not the gross, keeping your revenue reporting accurate. If sales tax doesn't apply to your business, simply leave the rate column blank and the full amount flows directly into your reports. You can also hide the sales tax columns entirely to keep the log clean. For this demonstration, I'll go ahead and leave the rate at 10%. So let's go to the transaction type. This tells the template exactly where to put this transaction and how to treat it. There are 7 transaction types. The first 2 are income and expense, which directly affect your profit and loss. The remaining 5 are cash flow transaction types only and don't impact your net income. These are owner's contribution, owner's withdrawal, other deposit, other withdrawal, and transfer. Let's go through income and expense first, and then we'll move through the cash flow types. I'll go ahead and select income as the transaction type. Now you'll see the smart prompt has appeared. It's telling me I need to select a to account and a category and subcategory. The to account is where this income gets deposited. I'll select checking account. If a transaction hasn't been deposited into a specific account or you're not tracking cash flow, you can select no assigned account and the transaction will still flow into your dashboards and reports. I'll then select service revenue as my category and implementation services as my subcategory. Before I press enter, you'll notice the warning counter at the top is showing 1 issue. You must always clear this before reviewing any dashboards or reports. It's your completeness check. Once I press enter, you'll see both the smart prompt and the warning counter disappear. And that's it. The transaction is complete. Now let me quickly show you an expense. The process is very similar, but I'll go ahead and input $500 for office supplies and select expense as the transaction type. Now the only difference from income is that you select a from account instead of a to account since funds are being withdrawn. I'll select my from account and assign general and administrative as the category and office supplies as the subcategory, and that's it. Now let's go through the cash flow transaction types. None of these impact your net income, but they all affect your cash flow. Let's go through an owner's withdrawal first. I'll select owner's withdrawal and enter $2,500. The smart prompt tells me I only need to select a from account. This represents the account the cash is being withdrawn from. I'll select checking account, and the smart prompt clears, indicating the transaction is complete. You'll note that I did not need to select any category or subcategory, as these are only required for income and expense transaction types. Owner's deposit, and other withdrawal work exactly the same way, so I won't walk through any examples. Deposit transaction types require a to account only, and the withdrawal transaction types require a from account only. Use these for any cash movements that aren't owner transactions, for example, withdrawing petty cash or depositing a loan. Now let's move on to a transfer. This transaction type is used for moving money between your own accounts. I'll enter $1,000. Say I want to pay off my credit card. The smart prompt tells me I need both a from account and a to account. I'll select checking account as my from and credit card as my to. One thing worth noting, if you accidentally select the same account for both from and to, the warning will flag it immediately. Once you correct it, the smart prompt clears and the transaction is complete. The last thing I want to cover before we move on is the error check column. Here's a real example. Say we accidentally went into the Inputs tab and removed the S from Implementation Services. That small change breaks the link for every transaction logged to that subcategory. If I go back into the transaction log, you can see the error check has caught it immediately. There are now 47 errors flagged. Scrolling through, you can see exactly which rows are affected. You have two ways to fix it. Either go into each affected row and reselect the correct subcategory from the drop-down, or the easier option, just go back into the Inputs tab and add the S back. The moment you make that correction and come back to the transaction log, all errors clear automatically. This is why the error check is so valuable. It catches accidental changes before they silently affect your reports. Now that we have covered all the transaction types, let's talk about importing your bank statement directly into the template. Your download includes a separate bank import file that helps convert your raw bank data into the correct format for the transaction log, specifically the date format and amount columns. The file includes its own step-by-step instructions, or you can check out the dedicated bank import file tutorial linked in the description below. For this demonstration, I'll go ahead and paste the bank data directly. And this is important. Always use paste special, then values only. Never a regular paste, as it can overwrite the formatting and break formulas throughout the template. Once your data is pasted, you can simply go through each row and select the appropriate transaction type, category, subcategory, and accounts to complete each transaction. And if you find yourself spending a lot of time on this step each month, manually selecting categories for the same recurring transactions, that is exactly what the auto mapping feature in the advanced version is designed to solve. As a reminder, I have linked that template and tutorial in the description below if you want to check it out. Now let's go ahead and look at all these transactions flowing through the profit and loss and dashboards. Here's the profit and loss statement. Enter the year and everything populates automatically. You'll notice a little plus on the left side. The statement defaults to showing your first 7 categories in a condensed view. If you have more than 7, go ahead and click the plus to expand. A warning will appear, but this is one of the few times you can click OK. The first section is the summary profit and loss, organized by main category across all 12 months. Subcategories don't show here, and only the main category totals appear. That's completely by design to keep the statement clean and readable at a glance. Now let's see the transactions we just entered flowing through. We entered a $2,000 income transaction, excluding sales tax, and a $500 expense transaction, and here they are in the July 2026 column. Everything is flowing correctly and net income has been reflected appropriately. Now let's scroll below the net income line. This is where you'll see a cash flow summary showing all transactions that affect your cash but do not impact your profit and loss, including the $2,500 owner's withdrawal we entered earlier. Here's why this matters. A business can look profitable on paper but still be cash flow negative if there were large withdrawals or other cash movements throughout the year. This template shows you both numbers so you always know exactly where you stand financially. Now let's move to the Detailed Profit and Loss tab. This works the same way as the summary view, but now broken down into all your subcategories organized alphabetically within each main category. If we look over at the June column, which is fully populated, you can see General and Administrative is broken down into 8 subcategories, totaling $1,069.22. Now, if I scroll back up to the Summary Profit and Loss, you'll see that same $1,069.22 total appearing as one line under General and Administrative. The numbers always agree. The detailed view simply shows you what's driving each one. Now let's move into the monthly dashboard. This is where your data really comes to life. All you need to do is select a month and enter a year, and everything populates automatically. Any month and year you have transactions entered for will show up here. So as your data builds up over time, this dashboard becomes more and more powerful. At the top, you have your key metrics showing total income, total expenses, and net income all compared automatically to the same month last year. No manual prior year lookups needed at all. To the right, you have your monthly net income progress, showing how you're tracking against your budget target for the month. To the left is your income and expense summary, with prior year comparison in a visual chart. And in the middle, you have all your main categories comparing current year to last year at a glance. Now, if you scroll down, you'll see your top 5 income and expense charts and the trailing 15-month summary chart. Since I have June 2026 selected, you can instantly see the last 15 months, going all the way back to April 2025. This is really useful for spotting seasonal trends and any months that need attention. And at the very bottom is your full subcategory detail, ranked from largest to smallest. Now let's take a quick look at the annual dashboard. It works almost exactly the same way as the monthly dashboard. Just enter a year and it shows all 12 months side by side with prior year comparison. It's perfect for your year-end review. I won't go through every chart in detail since the structure is identical to the monthly view, but just presented at a full year level instead of a single month. Let's move on to the 5-year dashboard, which is your long game view. Just enter the most recent year you want to see, and it'll automatically pull the prior 4 years. So if I enter 2026, you instantly see 2022 through 2026 in one view. Simple as that. You'll see category-level results, income and expense allocation charts, and your overall performance trends across the full 5-year period. Your best year for total revenue and your best year for net income are also highlighted automatically, so you can see at a glance where your business peaked. This dashboard becomes incredibly powerful as you keep using the template over multiple years and your data builds up. And just like the profit and loss, remember to click the plus sign on the left if you've got more than 7 categories, so everything expands and populates correctly. Now let's look at the Transaction History tab. This allows you to drill into transactions by category, similar to a general ledger in an accounting software. Income categories are on the left, and expense categories are on the right. If I select one of my main income categories, it'll pull all transactions from inception to date across all years. I'll select service revenue as my category, and you'll see all subcategories that roll up into service revenue have populated. Now, if I drill further into implementation services, only those specific transactions show up. You can also filter by year by entering the year directly if you want to narrow it down to a specific period. This is incredibly useful for investigating variances and understanding exactly what's driving your numbers at a detailed level. No manual input is required other than your filter selections. Now let's get into the account reconciliations. This template has 2 options, so let's walk through both. The first is the Account Reconciliation tab. This one works just like a real accounting system. Instead of relying on month-end dates, your reconciliation is based on your actual bank statement dates. So if your statement ends on the 25th of each month, the template automatically pulls exactly the right transactions for that period. Let's go through an example. I'll select July 2026 as the month I want to reconcile. I'll scroll to the far right, select Checking Account from the drop-down, enter my statement start date and end date of July 25th, 2026. I'll enter my statement balance of $25,826.15 straight from my bank statement. Now, if I scroll back left, you can see all transactions have automatically populated for that exact period. Opening balance, income, expenses, and all cash transactions. The ending balance recalculates automatically, and because it agrees exactly to my statement balance, it shows reconciled. Now let me show you a second account. I'll select my credit card, enter a statement end date of July 20th, 2026, and enter my statement balance of negative $16,136.62. Just a quick note here. Since this is a credit card balance owing, it must be entered as a negative value. You'll see it also shows reconciled immediately since all transactions have been captured correctly. You can reconcile as many accounts as you need for the same month. Just repeat the same steps for each one. Now let's take a quick look at the transactions. You'll see the $2,200 income transaction, including the 10% sales tax, the $500 office supplies expense, and the $2,500 owner's withdrawal that we logged manually in the transaction log. You'll also see the $1,000 credit card payment showing up as a withdrawal from your checking account and a payment toward your credit card balance. If you selected no assigned account on any transaction, it will still flow into your profit and loss and dashboards, but it will not appear here in the account reconciliation. So if you plan to reconcile your accounts, make sure every transaction has the correct account assigned. One extra feature worth knowing about is the tolerable range. The default is set at $10. Say my credit card statement shows a balance owing of negative $16,000 instead. That's a $136.62 difference, so the template would flag it as unreconciled. But if I change the tolerable range to $150, any variance under $150 will show as reconciled automatically. This is super useful for avoiding unnecessary investigation of small rounding differences that aren't worth your time. And if you want to reconcile to the penny, just set it to $0. That's it for the account reconciliation feature. This tab also includes a few additional views and charts. At the bottom, you have a current view showing real-time account balances as of today. No manual input needed. It just pulls everything automatically so you can see exactly where each account stands right now. And to the left, you have two visual charts showing your inflows versus outflows and your current account balances, plus key summary metrics at the top for a quick overview of your overall cash position. Now let's look at option 2, which is the Accounts Custom tab. This is much simpler to use. Just enter a custom date range and all transactions within that period populate automatically with a calculated ending balance. No statement required, no month selection needed. I'll enter June 26th, 2026 to July 25th, 2026, and you can see the same transactions populate and the ending balance matches exactly to what we saw in the previous tab. So which one is right for you? If you want a formal reconciliation process that ties directly to your bank statements, go with the Account Reconciliation tab. If you just want a flexible way to monitor cash activity across any period, the Accounts Custom tab is your go-to. You can use one, both, or neither, and just hide whichever one you're not using to keep things clean. Now let's look at the Sales Tax tab. This is optional and only applies if your business collects or pays sales tax. If it doesn't apply to you, just hide this tab. Earlier in the transaction log, you saw where you can enter an optional sales tax rate for each income or expense transaction. The template automatically calculates the tax amount from that rate. The Sales Tax tab then summarizes everything for you. Total sales tax collected on your income transactions, total sales tax paid on your expense transactions, and your net tax position for the year. This makes preparing your sales tax filings much easier, whether you file monthly, quarterly, or annually. Just select the year and everything's already calculated for you. Now on to the final tab. Let's look at the balance sheet. This is a manual monthly input. At the end of each month, once everything's recorded, go ahead and enter your closing balances for all your balance sheet accounts. The template isn't fully automated here, but the good news is you can use the other tabs to populate it. Pull your bank and credit card balances from the Account Reconciliation tab and any other relevant balances from your records. At the bottom is your balance check indicator. It confirms your balance sheet is balanced when total assets equal total liabilities plus equity. Always check this before you close your books at month end. And since this is a multi-year template, the balance sheet doesn't roll forward automatically. At year end, just export a copy for your records, clear the white input cells, and enter your opening balances to start fresh. And that's a wrap on the full multi-year bookkeeping system walkthrough. I know that was a lot, but I promise, once you're set up, it becomes a very simple routine. Log your transactions, check your dashboards monthly, and by year end, your books are ready to go. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this template helps you gain clarity and confidence in your finances.